With no further ado, I'm going to read David's bio and then I get to introduce him the way I want to. But David is a highly respected, accomplished speaker, trainer, business leader, adventurer, humanitarian, and expert in the field of speaker and trainer development. His reputation for being fearless, transparent, authentic, gritty, no nonsense, hilarious, funny, effective, and life changing has led him to train millions of students on 5 continents worldwide and be respected as the trainer's trainer. David is most recently stepped into the role of Chief Visionary Officer at Isagenix, doing what he does best: uplift others, uplift the industry, and show us what's possible building a life by design with the right company. So I pretty much almost peed myself when we got the announcement that David was back. And as the CBO, I think it's incredible. If you guys have heard David speak at an Isagenix conference, maybe on a podcast, like put a 1 in the chat with like one word that immediately comes to mind that maybe wasn't in his bio. You can't already steal like fearless or life changing, but that's just blow up the chat with if you have. And if you've never heard David, just put a 2 in the chat because you are in for a real treat. But I will say the first time I ever heard David speak, he was telling the story about him climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and he was like incorporating leadership principles on like the edge of our seats on if he was like going to make it to the top of this mountain. And I like forgot I was at an Isagenix event. I just thought, oh my gosh, so much profound stuff has come out of there. But every time I've heard David speak, whether I have heard him in the hallway, in the elevator, on stage, there is no one I've ever met that is more authentic, more just like accepting, loving of everyone. I mean, male, female, young, old, you're going to get a smooch on the lips at some point because he just is going to make you laugh and lift people up. But I remember just watching him with people and thinking, if like the whole world could be 1% more like David, the world would be a better place. Just more accepting, more loving, more forgiving, more funny, more joyful, and there could not be a greater person leading our company. So thank you for doing this call. With no further ado, I'm going to shut up and turn it over to you.
Hey, hi everyone. It's good seeing so many faces that I do recognize. And for you that have never met me before, hello, hello. Yeah, I'm not sure. You have some questions, I think, but I did ask a little earlier. I think we reached out to Jessica and asked, would you like me to share the new mission vision so that you can start there? Do you want me to? Because I can share screens and show you a couple of slides, although if everyone's already seen it, I don't need to go through that again. It's up to you.
Nope, we would love, love, love for you to do that. And then we do have some questions for you at the end.
I'm all yours. I'm all yours. Let's see if I can do the technology first. Here we go. All right. So play from start. Bump. You can see that okay? All right. So I will slow down a little bit and then I'll speed up a little bit. So just to sort of give you this, what some of you may not know, I actually retired and I had this incredible retirement plan. The plan was, and if you know me, I've lived, traveled, and worked in 110 countries. I'm always traveling. I just flew in from Australia. I've just been back a couple of days. I was just over there doing an event. You know, when the retirement plan was to go to a country for 3 months, get a teacher, and learn something brand new, fully immersed. So immersed in the culture, immersed in the food, immersed in the new learning. The first one was going to be kite surfing. Anyway, we were on a 5-country tour. And I get a kind of a feeling, which is kind of odd. You know, I'm 63 coming up in a few weeks here. And I realized that for the first time in, I don't know, almost 30 years, I had a kind of an empty feeling in my stomach. And it was the first time in all these years that I'd actually started focusing just on me. I wasn't focused on my purpose. I wasn't focused on the mission I had personally. And then I get a text from Sharon Walsh saying, I've got a crazy idea. And I said, well, I like crazy. What's up? And her and I have been talking a lot. I was helping her with an event. Even though I'd retired, I was still helping her out. She said, would you come back? And I'm like, it's funny you should ask that question. And we talked about coming back in this role. And around that time, I was watching a really interesting documentary, but I'm always interested in stats. I always look at stats because they tell the truth, especially good studies from good schools. And something that happened in the US is like they started falling to number 23 on the global happiness scale. Now imagine one of the great economies in the world falling to 23. And that was kind of disturbing. But I was feeling it. You know, I was in Europe earlier on. I mean, about 2 months ago, I was in Europe. I just was in Australia. I was down in Mexico. So I've been around a lot. And everywhere I was starting to feel this heaviness. It was almost like the world had tilted somehow. And here I am going out to enjoy everything and having this call from Sharon, but noticing that there was some issues. People were feeling heavy. I noticed even positive people, the language they were using suddenly had a negative thread in it, or, you know, negative tones in it, right? And then I looked at these other studies. There was one at Harvard here, the World Health Organization, the US Surgeon General, or the University from Pennsylvania, showing that 61% of adults were reporting severe loneliness, and they declared loneliness as an epidemic, a global epidemic, loneliness. In fact, I was just in the UK, and they just gave 20 million pounds, and they anointed a loneliness minister, somebody in government whose job it is to help with the loneliness crisis. I mean, what's going on in this world, right? And they were saying that loneliness is akin to smoking 20 cigarettes a day or 15 cigarettes a day. But what was also interesting is this is off, by the way, but this is where we think people, they're so connected today, right? And yet they were showing at the University of Pennsylvania that when people left social media, they left with a deeper feeling of depression or sadness or anxiety or separation, isolation, FOMO. And I'm like, wow, you know, there is a big need in the world. And we're talking about globally. It doesn't matter where I go in the world, I'm feeling the same energy. And I was watching this beautiful documentary. You can wave if you've seen it. It's Live to 100, Secrets of the Blue Zone. And I don't know if you remember the one in Costa Rica where the guy is 103 and he's riding on he's got a beautiful blue shirt on. He's herding cattle through rivers. And he's like he's moving like a young man, vibrant, and his hands look like a young man. He's 103 years of age. And so there's this beautiful study of these 5 regions in the world called blue zones. And it started with Okinawa in Japan. They were the longest living people, but they weren't just living long. They were living with vitality. They were living with passion. They didn't have any dementia or any mental problems. Their bodies weren't riddled with arthritis. It was like there was something happening in these places around the world that allowed people to live these extraordinary, long, vibrant lives. And that fascinated me for someone who does what I do. And so there were these common denominators. Food, of course, right? You'd expect food. And I realized, you know, I've been using these products for 20 years. I used the Isagenix products for 1 full year before I ever joined as a consultant for them. So 20 years. If I could take you into my pantry, you're going to ask me about what products I use. My pantry looks like a warehouse for Isagenix 20 years later. You talked about me climbing up Kilimanjaro. I carried my products to the summit of Kilimanjaro, 19,374 feet. But I take them everywhere. I don't go anywhere in the world. I always carry a second case. So I already thought when I was looking at this Blue Zone thing, we had the best food in the world. And now it's scientifically validated, not on animals, on humans. You know, we have scientifically validated the greatest food on the planet, right? So I'm like, wow. Isn't that interesting? And most of us, we have an active lifestyle. What was interesting in the blue zones, it wasn't just going to the gym, although I like to go to the gym. It was like riding the bike down to see your neighbor. It was walking across the street. It was gardening. So we had the active lifestyle. But this is the big one. What they showed about why these areas, why people lived the longest without disease, why they lived so vibrantly was, yes, the food and activity, but it was relationships. And what was interesting, I talked on the event I just did, it was called The Art of Living. I showed a 74-year study. It's the longest study ever done. It's still going on today. They started with 724 males, and 50% were from the wealthiest part of Boston. They'd finished college. 50% were from the poorest part of Boston, and they followed them for 74 years. Now, a lot of them are in their 90s right now. The ones that survived, there's, how many are left now? There's 60 left. From that, they have 2,000 children. Their children are now part of this study. And they were looking I studied every aspect of life. They did brain scans, blood scans, and every 2 years, they put them through these intense questions about their rationale, about their health internally, their emotional health, their mental health, their physical health. And what they found after 74 years, look this study up, it's crazy, was about this. It was about their relationships. Relationships were the defining factor in this 74-year study in the US. They could tell at 50 If somebody had really genuine connected relationships in their life, they were going to be healthier at 90. It was staggering, right? So these are the other aspects of the Blue Zone: ongoing learning. They love to have fun, drink a little wine, dance a little bit. But there were two very, very important elements: contribution and purpose. There's a word in Japan called ikigai, which is a reason to get out of bed. You know, and what we do in Isagenix, what I realized is when we help someone get a body transformation, or we help someone, you know, pay for their products, or we help someone get a small income or a large income, that is a sense of purpose that we get. So as I started to look at all the elements, and I had this idea when Sharon asked me about creating like a global Blue Zone. And there's this wonderful quote that says, the greatest tragedy in life is not death, but a life without purpose. And so we're not losing the art of well-being. But when I started to think about it, and we started to sort of get together, and I didn't do this in a vacuum, I did it with different teams, different people around the world, right? But we started to think about the art of living, truly living with gratitude, living with purpose, living with passion, living with contribution, you know, living with deep, intimate, beautiful, authentic relationships. So the art of living is really who we were. And remember, we're 20 years of age. And what happens with great companies is this: they respond to what's happening in the world. And the world had shifted. I was seeing it everywhere. I bet any of you, if you want to put something in the chat right now, you look at some of your friends and you can feel there's kind of a heaviness or a dampness on people, right? So this art of living, what a great company will do is look at what's happening and say, okay, let's make the shift. And if you look at our vision statement for the first 20 years, which served us, remember, 9 billion in sales, 4 billion in commissions. And let me say that again, 9 billion. That means everyone who's used these products, it's impacted their lives, 9 billion, but 4 billion paid out in commissions. Unbelievable, right? But our mission statement was to free people from physical and financial pain, and in the process, grow the largest health and wellness company in the world, right? Now we look at this. It's a subtle shift, but we're really looking at those three factors, you know, as the global leader in evidence-based nutrition, premium protein, and whole body cleansing. Our mission is to positively impact the lives of 1 billion people globally, and in the process, grow the largest and healthiest community on earth. So there's that shift away from the company into the community, because we see from the 74-year study from Harvard, we see from the 20-year study from the Blue Zones, that actually relationships, network marketing offers something that nothing else does, done well. And again, so we have the possibility, because we have all the building blocks, to grow the largest and healthiest community on earth, where people can live truly extraordinary lives. And when I looked at the billion, I think about this, right? Like, I've just been on this trip to Australia. I was in Sydney. I was in Brisbane. I trained. We had 300 and something people in the room, right? But I met people on the plane. I met people at the airports. I don't know how many people I went by or talked to or bought something from. But you think about impacting. If I'm living my best life, when I am lit up, when I am healthy on the inside, when my mind is strong, when I am positive, I ripple into people's lives. I make people smile. They feel seen. They feel connected. So actually impacting 1 billion lives through the ripple is actually quite easy, right? It's quite simple. But the idea of actually attracting 1 billion people into this community and offering them what they purely need, right? So this idea of a global Blue Zone. So we won't use that as a term because it's already used, but I believe in synchronicity. I always know when I'm exactly on purpose, and you have to understand my story. You know, I arrived in Canada as a backpacker, earning $4 an hour, and now as a multi-millionaire with total freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, right? You know, I really get this idea of you know, what it is like to be able to create something very, very special. So the idea of us having an opportunity to do that, to really allow people to come in, regardless of the path they want to take. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let's just go there right now. You look at this, look at the logo we have. Now, this logo was done years ago, but then we started to look at it through this lens about what kind of health, you know, the healthiest community. Well, nutritional health, physical health, social health, financial health, holistic health, and mental health. And then as this started to roll out, and as I've now taught this, and I've again in Australia, I did a 2.5-day event on this particular subject, the art of living. I thought about my brother and my sister. So my sister is very new age. She's a vegan. She meditates. She's very, very spiritual. And when she writes an email to my brother, it's about 5,000 words long. She emotes every single emotion. She's very, very colorful. She loves to describe things in depth. She feels everything. My brother spent his whole life in the army, right? So my brother, when he talks and sends an email, he sends an email with 3 words, not yet, or no thanks. That's kind of him, right? So here they are, they grew up in the same house, but they have very, very different languages. So when I think about these 6, I think about a 6 pillars of health, or 6 opportunities, or 6 conversations, 6 doorways, because my sister, if she was interested in Isagenix right now, she lives in the UK, she would definitely come through the holistic door. Right? That would call to her. The very essence of it, it's like the art of well-being would call to my sister. My brother, who's all facts, black and white, he'd have to come through the physical or the nutritional door. So then we start to look at giving these languages, right? So nutritional health, that evidence-based nutrition, whole body cleansing, scientific validation, cutting edge product innovation. Physical health, active lifestyle, longevity, optimized immune system, stress management, lean muscle. My brother would like all those. Guess what? Scientifically backed, black and white. You can't argue with it. My sister, however, from the holistic door, she'd like the mindfulness, that life balance, the focus on core values and contribution. So this is kind of where we're going. Is that a hand up? Is that a question? Did I see George saw a hand up? Anyway, I know I'm going to jump in now to let you come back in, Lauren. Maybe you have some questions around this. You see, I get pretty passionate about it, though.
Was there anything else you had to say before I ask the questions? That was phenomenal. I'm like texting a couple people because I have not seen this yet, and it's so good. So good. I mean, obviously the way you're personalizing it, but the facelift that Isagenix has had, you've been here 20 years. Jess and I are coming in to 11 years. She'll be 11 years in October. I'm 11 years in September. And, just to see some of those changes, but even just the subtle tweaks of the logo, the slogan, and the way that it is applicable today in so many different people, like you immediately see like, oh my gosh, who do I want to talk to? And like, how can I bring them to see Isagenix? And I think that, when 2.0 and those kind of buzzwords went around, I always loved when Jessica would message people and I would hear her, I would listen to her, and she would say, if you knew us then, you don't know us now. And I feel like that is more relative right now than ever before on the culture, the community, the variety of products, the lifestyle, the way that we do things. And it's rejuvenating. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. So
yeah,
we do have some specific questions, but I didn't want you to feel like I had to come to a hard stop.
No, I don't know. It's fine. You jump in. I think it will really make it, it will make it more beautiful for us to get into that conversation about it. Especially for you seeing this for the first time. But I also want each person to think about which door would be your door. I may have to go back in and open it for you, but because I think that's interesting, isn't it? When we see this, let me go back in for a second and I will see if I can get this share. Hold on one sec. And in the chat, and then you can have a look at it. I'm going to go back. Can you see that? So think of the door. You may have come in for 2 doors, but which is the primary door? Is it again, maybe I need to show you this one because it explains it a little bit more. But for example, at the event I just did, I used 2 leaders that are really, really thriving right now. Their businesses are exploding. One of them is 79 years of age, and he definitely came through the nutritional health door. He uses only science. We know who he is, Peter Greenlaw, right? He's earned $40 million in Isagenix, by the way, and he's more excited today. Last month, he personally enrolled 30 people. So that guy's on fire, but he definitely leads with the nutritional door. He wants all the science. That's all he ever talks about. The fastest growing team in the world, which is Tristan in Montreal, right? He leads with the social door. He never talks about the science, but he focuses on events, really fun events. He has 60 personally enrolled consultants and his business is on fire, right? 2 very different approaches. They're different age groups. One's 79, one's 34, and they have completely different language around how they build this business, and they're both on fire. So that's what I like about this. But I wonder for each of you, which one would be your primary? Like Lauren, which one would you typically come in for? Was it nutrition or was it holistic, or what was your kind of language that suits you?
So if you were to ask me 2013, Lauren, without a doubt, it was the nutritional health, like the science, the data. For those of you that don't know my story, and my mentor, who I believe is on the call, Janie, sent me to the corporate office because I was so skeptical about everything. But today it would be the social. Like I say that all the time. I didn't know how much I missed this community. I didn't realize how lonely I was as a solopreneur. And, you know, people that we built either cross line, up line, down line, or just in the company that become some of my closest friends were bridesmaids in my wedding, you know, that I would never have had without Isagenix. And that's honestly what I share with people. I'm like, you have no idea what you don't know until you're a part of it.
Right. And if anyone got in the chat right now, maybe you could put in what door: nutritional, physical, nutrition, a lot of nutritional, mental, and financial. Very nice. See? So it's so cool, right? When we start seeing it that way. And some people love, which is the social holistic. Very nice. And what's interesting, what I did with the leaders, because I had these 6 pillars and they were like as big as I am, like 6'4". And I got people to go and stand in front of the one they came in on and the one that they value now. And it's so often it was 2 different ones. They came in from one door and then they got to the financial door, or they went here like you, right? So it's very, very cool. It's opened
That
up
is super cool.
It's opened up our whole world to the world, and the world needs it more than ever before. I mean, and it really, it takes a vision like this, but it takes a group of leaders like this to link arms behind it and understand what the world needs right now, right?
So powerful. I love it. Okay. So in no particular order, we've got some, we asked a lot of people. So thank you, Holly and Erica, Jessica, Ashley DeChico, Holly, Brooke, Randy. We have quite a few. Laura M that kind of chimed in and collectively wanted to get some great answers for you. So the first one is, like all strong companies, Isagenix has evolved over the years. We started as a weight loss company and now have a variety of products that are simple, proven, and natural. In your words, how would you describe the brand and the culture of Isagenix and highlight our focus for what we specialize in?
Well, I think that what do we realize, and this is something that's become evident, I think we got a little lost, right? If we're really honest, and companies do that. When a company's going to go through evolution, when there's a shift in the world, it's easy to get lost. And I think we forgot our core principles, right? With that, the trifecta, you know, the trifecta that sets us apart, the science that sets us apart. We're one of the few companies on the entire planet that has scientifically validated products like this, right? And I think what it is, you know, when I look at, for example, I'm going to use this team only because I just did a 2.5-hour interview. I broke it up into small parts. So I know a lot about this particular team and their strategy. But the team that's on fire right now, they have a lot of people coming in for the collagen. But what they'll say is this, they'll say, look, you know, if you really want the collagen to work, what we got to do is do a 30-day reset. Let's get you to feel what the Isagenix products does in your body. Then when you add the collagen a little bit later on, you're going to have results like you've never had before. So everyone that comes through their door, even if they want one specific product, they put them into this reset of the body through the 30-day system. And that's what I'm seeing again with Peter Greenlaw as well, that approach. So I think what we are, when we talk about our product, is we will have solutions in all those doors. There's no doubt what those 6 doors have done. They've opened up a world of possibility. However, at the very, very core, you know, scientifically backed with human people, you know, our products, our central products will play that central role, and then we can continue to build. But I think we got away from getting people results, because it was always, you know, when we were in momentum, and I'm talking about massive momentum, it was always about results. And sometimes it's like, you know, we get into a shopping list now, people buy one product and they forget that, you know, there's actually, the body needs to reset to be optimal. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it's great. It's awesome. And even if we're getting extra pieces and value, when we're loving it, you can see the chat.
Yeah, I was going to read this to you. I was going to read this to you. We taught this thing at the program called the Isagenix Edge, right? And we were trying to sort of encapsulate. Now, this is kind of rough. If you say we did this kind of right before the program, I know it's going to be massaged slightly, but we were trying to define what is the Isagenix Edge, right? So the Isagenix trifecta is simple. Premium proteins that fuel lean muscle growth, whole body cleansing, promoting weight management and longevity, and balancing adaptogens for stress management, which is all backed by scientific research. So when we get back to that sort of that trifecta, and then we build outwards, I think that's why we have something unlike and scientifically proven, which I'm going to keep going back to that because I don't talk about it enough, and I think we should sometimes.
I typing and listening at the same time. That was like the most abbreviated version of, I think, what David read. I'm gonna get the recording and get that typed
Do
out.
you want me to I can say it slowly. Hold on, I'll say it slowly. Ready? And you can each write different parts. So the Isagenix edge. I do like that, by the way. The Isagenix trifecta is simple. The Isagenix trifecta is simple. Premium proteins that fuel lean muscle growth. The Isagenix trifecta is simple. Premium proteins that fuel lean muscle growth. Whole body cleansing, promoting weight management and longevity. Whole body cleansing, promoting weight management and longevity. And a lot of people in Australia say fasting, not cleansing. So they'll say whole body cleansing and fasting, because some people don't like that word. But whole body cleansing, promoting weight management and longevity. Balancing adaptogens for stress management, which are all backed by scientific research. Simple, right? And we have so overcomplicated it. I said, hey, can you send me, like, if we had to talk about the edge, I got like 900 words. I'm like, what? We got to be able to say it like if you're in an elevator ride going up 2 floors and someone says, what is it? Well, and you don't have to say all that. But, you know, that separates us, right? The adaptogens, the proteins, the cleansing or fasting. And again, you know, in Australia, you hear a lot of fasting, not cleansing, but, right?
It's so good. I absolutely love that. Okay, so you are an expert in the network marketing space, both with the field and corporate leadership. The loyalty that you have to Isagenix is unparalleled. In your words, what sets us apart? What makes us dynamic? And why is this your forever company?
You know, 20 years of my life, you know, and I think I may have shared, I had a very, very close call. I thought I was dying. In fact, I was 100% I was dying. I was in an accident down in the Caribbean. And I knew that I probably only had a couple of minutes to live. I was unconscious underwater in a marina, which are always filthy anyway. I managed to climb out, but one of my lungs was full of water, and I'd smashed 6 ribs and punctured my lung. 2 of my ribs were broken in pieces. So I had one lung that was completely deflated and one lung full of water. So I couldn't breathe. I was in immense pain. I don't know if you've ever cracked one rib, but this was 6 broken ribs. And I just thought, this is it. I was in pain. And it's interesting when you reflect on those last minutes of life, I mean, a lot of people who, you know, who fight cancer, they come back and they live differently, or they have a near-death experience, they live differently. But I think in that moment, I realized the importance of, maybe not in that moment, but, you know, a couple of days later when I obviously didn't die, just realizing the importance of the work and the ripple of this company, and knowing, you know, the amount of lives, including my own, that have been impacted in many, and some people have come through the company and gone on to other things, which is very, very normal, by the way. But just the impact, going back to 9 billion in product sales, and each of those products have helped someone, that is a staggering amount of impact. And 22 years and everything we've endured, the peaks, the valleys, the plateaus, you know, we've gone through an ownership change. We've gone through, you know, we've gone through legal battles. We've gone through, you know, being raided by other companies. We've gone through everything. We've gone through massive momentum. Even surviving the kind of momentum we were in is an art form, because most companies, if they were in that kind of momentum, they would collapse, right? And we've gone through these downturns where, you know, business is down, you know, and some of you have felt that in your teams right now. And guess what? We're not only here, we're evolving, and that's what you want. You want a partner, and I come up with a new language, which I just trained on. It's the collaborative business partnership. To truly understand Isagenix and what it is, you get to partner with Isagenix. You know, you're the CEO of your own global business, but you get to partner with a 22-year-old seasoned company that's done 9 billion in sales. You're their business partner, right? Now, as part of that, they agree to do 80% of the work for you. They do all of the product research and development. They do all the product manufacturing. They do all the logistics. They even do the financing. They'll do the legal. So they'll take 80% of the work and do it for you. 80%. They're your business partner, and you should be proud to have them as a partner, for goodness sake, right? Now, the collaborative business partnership. So the business partnership is with Isagenix. Now, there's other ways to make money. I mean, you could, if you have a job, you could work you can work more time, right? I call it the time and money conundrum. Everyone wants more time and money. But if I have a job and I work more hours, I may have more money, but no time. If I start a small business, usually it's me again, trading time for money. And so, you know, and I have more responsibilities and I give up more time. Or I can get a franchise. Very expensive, right? Small geographical region, ongoing bills, right? So there's very few ways. And then there's a collaborative business partnership. Look at the collaboration. Look at you on this call. You get to link arms with people who are going to share everything they know. You're going to have people come on who have gone before you, who have made millions of dollars, who have come from all different professions and background, and they're going to share every tiny detail with you. And they're going to help you on your path. Remember, some of you on the call have different dreams and goals. Maybe one or two of you may have dreams to make $1 million a year. Some of you may just want to make $5,000 a year. Some of you may just want to get your product paid for. But the fact is this, you get to collaborate with all these incredible people and become the very best version of yourself, which anyone who's been in Isagenix for a decade or more will tell you, the person they were and the person they are, the friends they had, the friends they have now. So this collaborative business partnership is remarkable and truly one of the best things on the planet. Now, can you get upset with it? Yes. Can you get frustrated with it? Yes. Can it go up and down? Yes. But doesn't life? Don't relationships? Everything everything is like this. There's no straight lines in the universe at all, right? I got off track there. I can't remember what question I was answering. I was getting so passionate.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. I have to just beeline for a teeny tiny second and just tell this story. And for those of you that know it, you'll totally know it, David, because what you said that you're unrecognizable if you're in this company for long enough, we'll appreciate it. But when Jess and I first started working together, many of you guys know we're cross-line. We have the same mentor, but we are not financially linked. When we first started going, and we were very competitive with each other, not in an unhealthy way, but in a like, if she can do it, I can do it. But I was overly stressed working a lot of jobs, and Jessica's East Coast, and our energy before we became the best of friends and a sister from another mother or whatever was like this sometimes, just like oil and water. And Jenny loved us both and was like, why do you guys not get along? So I'd be like, God, she's so short, or she's rude, or like she hung up the phone on me. And one day Jessica had texted to Jenny and she said, Lauren's just so terse. And Jenny sent it to me. She goes, she thinks you're terse. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. And the other day it was Wordle, for those of you that played Wordle. And Jessica sends me a screenshot and she goes, look at the Wordle of the day. And I said, who knew it'd be such a bonding term? But exactly to your point that like, I would never describe her as this like fast-paced East Coast, hung up the phone on me. She would never describe me as terse. And back to one of the pillars of social health, what a full journey that brings around. So many people get started for the products. We know that retention is with the relationships and the business opportunity. What are your best tips for increasing retention or fostering the community within your team?
Yeah, and I'm going to slow down for this one. Look, I think we do a poor job in a number of areas. And I say we, I'm talking about us corporately and us here. Look, I always say you never know what's going on in someone's bedroom, someone's boardroom, their job, or their bank account, right? You don't know about their relationships, their money, whatever. But everyone has different life stories. And I think we've been pretty poor at really listening. And what happens is someone comes in, they have a product experience, and we get excited, or I'm going to use you. Maybe you get excited, and suddenly it's like, oh yeah, suddenly you want for them that maybe something they're not even ready for, or they don't even want for themselves, but they can get caught up. So we get caught up in pushing people into a vision necessarily, which isn't the one that they're ready for. And sometimes we push them into work, and I'm not saying all the time, but I think we can push people right out of this company. Sometimes we make it too hard. Sometimes we don't really listen. Sometimes we don't allow people to choose their own speed and honor that speed. I'm not saying people can't speed up, or we don't train them. You know, this is the only profession in the world. I mean, you think about, even on this call, if I was to calculate how many millions of dollars have been earned by the people on this call, it's a number of millions, right? And, you know, when you think about that, one of the highest paid professions in the world, and yet someone can come in on a Tuesday, we can get all excited about them, they can sign up someone, and then suddenly we push them into doing this job without necessarily the right skills. And if they get a few rejections and they start to feel like they can't do it, you know, sometimes we don't have a mechanism to truly help grow and build them over time and value the speed that they're at. And because of sometimes the way we recognize someone who hasn't got 18 stars and 19 Pumbas, or if they've been around for a few years and they have decided not to go fast, sometimes they go to an event and they feel crappy about themselves instead of feeling amazing about themselves. So I think we just have to get better at making small incomes okay, and people who want to be a product user and a sharer sometimes, for that to be valuable and for us to, like, I've been using these products 20 years. The person that enrolled me 20 years ago is still getting paid every month that I buy these products. They still get paid 20 years later. It's remarkable. But I do think we get a little, zealous, and we often push so hard that we push them right out the door. Now, I'm not saying that we can't say, okay, listen, I see your speed. Okay, let's help you and start really creating a skills, but that 20% of skills, which are really, look, connecting, presenting, inviting, closing. There's only 6 or 7 primary skills. But imagine that every single time people were allowed to practice and get better and practice and get better, so their confidence goes up, and that we value people who make extraordinary incomes. Because we get guilty, in corporate, we get guilty of the person that came out the gate and they went like a rocket ship and they're the star flavor of the month, but that is a real unicorn, and normally based on their previous professions or their networks or their confidence in life. And I think as we start looking at this whole new vision about the largest and healthiest community on earth, we got to make sure that people feel welcome and they don't feel judged because they aren't doing it, or they feel embarrassed because they haven't enrolled someone this month or whatever. But those people that really want it, that we create an environment of growth. That's what I call this, a growth culture, an environment of growth where they can continue to get better and better because skills are practiced and practiced and practiced and celebrated, and that people can just feel it. Because that's something, you think about events right now, the fastest growing team in the world right now, they have a leadership development event every single month, bar none, where people come to grow. The last one, there were 500 people at. The first one, there were 3. And it's been messy along the way, but everything, they say the secret sauce for them is they grow people. And they invite people in. They say a lot of people go and they don't even know they're really in a network marketing business. Well, they are. They get them on the products, and they get them excited about the products, and they get them excited about the results. And then they get a check because they get 2 friends to come and help them. And they just have a different philosophy. So that's the other part of it. I think having more fun. I think this chapter, I think we've made network marketing a little bit, not as fun as it should be. And that is around events, breaking bread, getting people together. When we look at the 20-year study, when we look at the 74-year study, relationships. And the very last thing you're going to think about is the person that you love and the relationships and bonds that you create. So let's create that and celebrate each path, celebrate each language, and celebrate the speed that people truly choose, and make this a fun environment to be a part of.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. You guys, write in the chat if you think that this is more fun than anything else. Like, when I think about anything else I could do, I'm like, this business is so fun. When someone has a little cleanse day, when we're at an event, when we've got people singing on stage, you're traveling, you're winning contests. I mean, absolutely so fun. So transitioning just a little bit, giving your advocacy for multiple streams of revenue. Many of us have seen that people are dabbling into affiliate marketing. They're doing like digital marketing. Do you think that this hinders Isagenix growth? Do you think it supports it? Like, do you feel like people will still stay dedicated and loyal here? And as leaders, like, what would the steps be to kind of raise the confidence here and not necessarily be distracted in other areas?
Well, it's a big question. I think it's a great question. And I think I have to unpack it in 3 different packets, I think. First off, affiliate marketing is like a PIB, right? It's a one-time sale. So if you have an affiliate business, typically you're just a sales machine and you keep selling and selling and selling and selling and selling. So it's different from a network where, having recurring income and having a leveraged income. So I can earn money from a team, and I can also earn money recurringly. Like I say, 20 years I've been buying the products. And we really have a brand partner strategy. We understand that there's going to be a lot of people who don't want to build a network, and that's okay. And we'll have a home for them. And the return on that from the brand partner, as that's being rolled out, and of course that's going to be massaged a little bit more. But I would say that Peter Greenlaw, who personally enrolled 30 people last month, he's much more of a brand partner philosophy. And then Tristan, who I'm talking about in Montreal, is much more of a network philosophy. One leads with science and sales, the other leads with community and fun. I think we can have a home for both. But I don't think that, you know, people come, look, the one thing I've always said, when people leave Isagenix, and I will tell you, I know in 20 years of a leader that's left Isagenix that's been successful in another company. I've seen them jump from one to one. I've seen them pay to go. I've seen them receive a huge amount of money to try and bring people over. I've seen everything, but I have not seen anyone who left here who's phenomenal there. You know why? Because they take themselves with them. They quit on their team here. They're going to quit on their team there, because what they're looking for is they're looking for an easy way. This isn't called you know, sit on your bum marketing. It's called network. There is an aspect of work for those that want to work. Remember, if we give people permission to do a little bit, they can do a little bit. But affiliate, we definitely understand that there are people who, a lot of the young people today, it's in my city, I don't know in your cities, some places it's impossible to keep people in work because people just don't show up. So the affiliate thing is going to sound sexy as whatever, but it's going to be so short-lived and temperamental. Now, are there influencers that make millions of dollars? Yeah, but that's another unicorn. Another unicorn is such a rare thing. So the fact that we can say to someone, look, if I was talking to Peter Greenlaw, for example, who again has made $40 million in Isagenix, is more passionate at 79 than I've ever seen him, he would want to take the brand partner approach right now. But Tristan, who's got the fastest growing business in the world right now, right? He definitely wants to network. And I'm saying, why not have both? But we can have them both in-house. And the people that come through these doors and pass on and do nasty things, that says more about them. As great leaders, look, every single industry in the world has been attacked. Every single person who's at a business has gone through the peaks and valleys and plateaus. But leadership, we discover the best part of ourselves in the hardest of times, not in the easiest of times. You know, I mean, when we look at these great men or great women, Oprah Winfrey or, you know, Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi or any Winston Churchill, every one of them are defined by when the world was at its worst, they rose to the top and they stood out. That's what we need. We need great leaders that understand it's tough everywhere, not just here, it's tough everywhere. And it's time to decide, what kind of world do you want to live in? What kind of legacy do you want to leave for your family? And if it's tough, guess what? I guarantee that most people, because we're seeing it, most people whose business isn't where they want it to be have stopped doing some of the things they used to do in the same way. And I'm not saying all the time, I'm just saying that happens, right? And you know, the thing that makes us successful, and we see it in every business on the planet, by the way, we see that, you know, things that make us successful don't always keep us there, right? So
that's so good. I love that you actually just said about what, you know, when the world's at its worst, the leaders that rose to the top, because there's a lot of people, and Isagenix specifically in the masterminds, you know, that have this underdog story or saw Isagenix from the top, and the things that have turned since we got distracted with the pandemic, you know, lost, you know, the clarity of kind of who we were and the things that you're talking about. But some of the people that have sucked this through, and the loyalty, the passion, the enthusiasm, but it's like whatever it kind of has to take to get around. But I also love the transparency of that. Because I'll share, you know, postpartum. I mean, I've talked to some of my strongest leaders, Jess and Em and Laura, that I'm like, I'm not posting like I was. I'm not doing events like I was. I'm not out networking like I was, or wasn't, you know, in the last few months. And then you start to see the shift. But you've said it, you know, on stage many times, and I've learned it from you about recruiting yourself every single day. In many events, I got super comfortable, you know, and just thought it was always going to be there, weren't there. And those teams that really are Michael Bogart, Tristan, like that accountability is real.
You know, the other thing, Lauren, which I think is so just deep in my heart, right? I mean, well, you think this profession is 100 years of age, right? And you think about success, you think about anyone, whether you think about a Richard Branson or anyone who's got massive success, they've been doing the same thing for 50 years, 60 years, right? Some people are in Isagenix for a few and they mix it up. Residual income is not passive income. Residual income is recurring income based on a customer who's happy. And your job, if you want to enjoy recurring income, is to make sure you have happy customers, which means if you're a happy person and you are feeling great about your business, you're probably going to have customers that feel the same way. But I don't know what it is about this profession. Again, people can make $1 million a year. And then when the business goes down, they can get upset at the fact. And it's like, well, you're only 10 years in. Give it another 20 years. You know, dedicate your life to it as if your life depends on it. Like any other business, I don't know if I was a nurse that I could treat nursing like a lot of people treat this business. They come and go, they'll take the afternoon off, but other people go to work for 8 hours and they do the things that have to be done to protect their patients. And I think we forget that. And sometimes this income gets so big, and I think it's distracting. I think if we paid less money, I know that we're not doing that, but let's say we paid less money, it would be better if someone made 50 or 100 or 200,000 a year, but someone making 750, and then they stop doing all the things they were doing. But the worst thing is this, Lauren, this is something I notice a lot. Leaders will grow so much and they elevate, they get this personal growth, they get this whole new perspective of life, and they start teaching from up here. And they forget what it was like that first day when you were scared. They forget, and they forget to teach the people from the beginning and remember what it was like, when it was really hard, and those hard days when you wanted to quit and you just had a second no and you wanted to run for the hills, right? But then reminding people why we do this, and the fact that if they belong to a community and a culture like this, they're already winning. If their bodies are really healthy and they feel the most beautiful they've ever felt, they're already winning. And the money will be a byproduct of that. But it is real work. It's not play money, it's real money, but we can't just switch it on and off. We still have to think about it as recurring income based on happy customers, not recurring income because I did the work once, I'm going to get paid for the rest of my life. That is where we made a mistake. And I was guilty of it too. So.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. You guys, if you are loving this, put some really great feedback in the chat right now, some words, some things you're doing, because I know normally we don't keep our calls, but if David, if you're good for a few more minutes.
I just sent Jessica a kiss, did you get it?
You've got a few more minutes. We've got a few more questions. So what are some of the behind the scenes conversations the board is having regarding growth and long-term strategy?
Yeah, well, the board is, look, the great thing about having a board like this is they come from a real financial acumen, which again, something that can happen in our profession is you have often mom and pops who run businesses, and it's really their own personal piggy bank, if you like, right? And yet, when you get a company that comes in and invests hundreds of millions of dollars into the company and really has a vision, but there's a fiscal responsibility to every dollar that's spent now, which is slightly different. And so it has to be validated. So, and this is sometimes with the leaders. Some leaders are like, we got to do it this way. Well, guess what? The data doesn't show that to be true. The data shows that if we do that, there's only 3 or 4% or 1% of people that benefit. So what happens is it's just fiscally responsible now where every financial decision is made, and there is tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that is willing to be invested. But then the proof has to be there to make sure the investments are right. So I think it's really exciting. I think that, when you have fiscal responsibility like that, I think that there's, and you also have people that have invested hundreds of millions. Remember, people don't invest that money into a company like this without a very clear sightline to know that this was a valuable company to invest in to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a lot of money that we're talking about, right? Okay, this one's probably a quick one, but many people have been to events and many people have never been. Celebrations on the horizon. What's from you why they need to go? What's the value of celebration?
Look, on every level, we have a default mode in the brain. I taught money for a long time, right? I used to teach a program called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And a lot of people are in the habit of saying things like, I don't have the time and I can't afford it, right? But I think that anyone listening right now, why would you want to invest a few days of your life to be around extraordinary people and talk about extraordinary things and potentially discover things that will help you become the best version of yourself? It makes absolute sense that it's possibly the best investment you can make this year in yourself. Now, if you struggle a little financially, you can ask for help and share. I mean, I've seen people come to Celebration with 6 or 8 in a room, right? And bring rollout mats. But I'm not saying, but if the reason is why should you be there? Because well, again, you're on this call, so I'm going to assume that you're here because you want to be here and that you see something. For me, it's a non-negotiable. It'll be like, you're saying that you want to drive a car, but not willing to sit your test. That's what I think. It's just like, you know, you want to drive a car, you want the freedom to drive wherever you want, but to get that, you need to sit a test. Celebration is like that. Celebration is where you go to fill up your cup. You're going to start making new friends. You're going to be meeting people you've never met. You're going to be inspired by stories you never heard. And when you walk out of that building, you cannot be the same. Right. Now, remember, I'm not saying you're going to walk out there and your business will explode. It will only explode if you want it to. And if you start applying those things, but the value of your time, you know, where do I want to spend my time? I want to spend my time around great people, and, you know, and to be somewhere where people are going to grow. That is an environment that you want to go. And think about, like, I mean, the last month, how many times you've been around the opposite of that, whether it's just binge watching Netflix or whether it's just hanging out with people who have no dreams and goals. Think of that, and then think, well, all right, what if I shift? And that's what I had to do. I mean, I was earning $4 an hour as a dishwasher, and once I shifted where I put my energy and time, everything in my life shifted, right?
Oh my gosh, so good. Okay, for those of you that had never heard David speak, I asked you in the beginning, the people who had to put one word in the chat. For those of you that this is the first time, now you had a second chance. Put one word in the chat that describes David, that describes everything you're getting right now. I'm going to type authentic in, so you can't take my word, but authentic is what's coming up. Okay, so for the future outlook,
sweaty. You could put sweaty.
What? No, sweaty's not one. What are the key milestones or markers of success that you're aiming for and looking for with Isagenix?
Who, me?
Mhm.
Well,
No, the other person we're interviewing.
Well, yeah, no. Yeah. What I think would be a great first key marker. We saw it in Australia after I finished this event. Again, it was the art of living. We did 3 days, 2 with newbies, and 1 day we had the leaders there. But watching people light up and start creating events, because events is what builds culture. Bringing people together, looking at these philosophies and really deciding that this mission, this vision can only be realized, you know. And again, the team, and I keep using this team, and I don't mean to throw it down anyone's throat, but they had 79 tasting parties last month, 79 in that team, 79, because it's become cultural, and they have the one big growing event, which just keeps getting bigger and bigger, but they just have so much fun with it. And I think, you know, knowing that events are really what help grow and change people, and that we also, knowing all the studies talk about people feeling lonely and people craving and wanting to be together. One thing would really show me is that leaders everywhere are putting on events, and all the time, so the events just start to, like a brush fire, not waiting for somebody else to do it, to say, hey. And even if an event is in someone's living room with 3 people, that's still an event, right? Is to start to truly look at that. And getting back to, you know, the core values of who we are as a corporation, who we are as and that whole idea of a growth culture. We're in the business of growing people. And, you know, when people join, I'm not talking about necessarily people growing their income is up to them. I can't grow someone's income for them, but I can help them grow and become the best version of themselves, parent, best friend, the best business mind, you know, the best person to hang around, all those things we can do. So I truly think that that's where our secret sauce lies, Lauren, is getting people back together and doing it in fun ways and making our events really, really fun again, you know, so that, you know, there's not only what we teach, but how we teach, and getting back to those 6 skills that I could tap anyone on the shoulder anywhere who's been around Isagenix for 3 months or more. And I say, hey, and I ask them any of the skills, and it falls out their mouth. Why? Because they're practicing them all the time, having fun practicing them, and they're getting great at them. Because if we can arm people with their confidence, then they will go out and share it. But if we think we've taught them, and we can't tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, share your story. 90 seconds, go, right? Share your financials, and it just falls out of them. Then we know that within the team, there's a culture of growing, right? And that's a responsibility for all the leaders.
That's good. That's so good. Okay, so we've got 4 minutes left. Anything you want to wrap up with? Any final words? Anything? And before, because I'm going to let you end it on a high energy. Thank you so much. Thank you not only for pouring your heart and soul into us. Thank you for reaching out. I know that you and your assistant had contacted many leaders that we worked together to say, hey, like David wants to get to know you. David wants to chat. Man, you do not have to be doing this. It's a total joy and treat and honor to have you. But Ian and Holly and Brandy and Erica and Laura and me, Jess, we all work so closely together. And for over 4 years now, have just done this collaborative call. So hopefully you'll come back, even though it was a one-stop shop for a lot of the people that you connected with, but we are all so thankful and grateful. But I'm going to let you close it out with however you want to.
Well, you know, we can do another call soon if you want, because as you know, if people missed it this time, you want me to come back, I'm happy to. Look, I just want you to, first of all, be kind to yourself. Wherever you're at right now, I know from looking around the world and traveling as much as I have recently, that sense that people are ready for a change. And I know you are too. So the question is this, I really want you to think about that. You know, think about what it is, get back to what you want in your life. What do you want more of? What do you want less of in your life right now? And know that, you know, by being collaborative, by understanding how powerful this is, what we have from the health basis, from the community basis, right? Again, not everyone wants big money, but if you do, that's great. But it really is, it's a profession, right? But I just think being kind to yourself and just checking in with what's that internal language. Because as I said to you, I have been around a lot of people who I consider to be quite positive people or very positive, and I can hear the little stream of negativity in their voice, and it seems to be everywhere. And I think, you know, everywhere you look. So I just want you to check in and just check in with the language you're using with yourself internally when you're looking in the mirror, and decide what kind of world do you want to live in, and together we can create it. I have no illusions whatsoever. And so, by the way, can I show you something? Look, the sun is why I'm sweating. Look, the sun's just going down. Is that pretty?
Such a gorgeous view.
The reason I showed you that was not to show off. It was to show, when I talk about creating dreams, I was a backpacker earning $4 an hour. I had no friends, no credit cards, I left school at 15. This profession helped me grow into the person I am and create the dream life that I have, so I can dedicate my life to the things I love. And that's why I love this profession.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, you guys. We're so grateful. And I wanted to say one of the things that I was going to earlier and I totally forgot, but it's what you said about the ripple effect and the impact in some of the leaders that they've had. There has not been a milestone moment in my life since 2013 that I've not texted Janny and said, you changed my life. And she's on here, David. I don't know if you know, and her daughter, Erica. But, you know, when just most recently I won the cruise with Isagenix, and Adonis was just a few months old, and I was able to put his, I mean, I could cry right now, put his toes in the sand and in the ocean for the very first time. And I said, this is because of Isagenix. Like, I don't even know if I would have been married. We would never have been able to pay for IVF. I mean, every one of those things and that ripple effect. And if you guys know Janny Elo's organization, I mean, not only are we all on it, but so many, you know, hundreds of thousands of people and Isagenix. And I think that sometimes when it might not be so much, we are not giving ourselves credit for the little impact that's having, the smaller effect, that ripple effect, and that one person that did a 30-day system, one person that went to college, and one person that made an extra $200 in the time that they needed it. But I really love that you said that. And I think that that is such a profound thing that we all are able to do on any level. And those small amounts that lead to that compound huge sums that just change lives, that you look back and say, without Isagenix, XYZ was one of my favorite things that you brought to fruition tonight.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Susan, I can see you. Anne, Vivian, Alicia, Laura, Julie, Jessica, Dawn, Kari, Janine. I think it's Janine. I said it right. Good. Anyway, I see you all. Maggie, ciao.